Two things on X this week really caught my attention. One was this brouhaha over Princess Kate, who went into hospital for abdominal surgery. The palace has not really told us very much about it. And she hasn't been seen since, except in one blurred photo in a car. She put out a picture, a family picture on Mothering Sunday, which is their Mother's Day. It's also a church holiday. And the picture was obviously doctored. And so she had to apologize, or the palace apologized. They've gone nuts on X trying to figure out what happened. And most social media, she's obvious. I have to assume she's ill. She's obviously very ill, but nobody knows what it is. She's dead. She's had her face lifted. She's had a nervous breakdown. She's run away, whatever. All the speculation, just absolute spreading like wildfire. The other thing that caught my attention was Hannah Barron, who puts out videos where she catches gigantic catfish, and she dives into the water, catches catfish, and she's building a house, and she takes you out and shows you all the things that she's put together. She's not doing it alone, obviously, but so a conservative woman with a fairly large following on X said her accent needs to be illegal, and women should be banned from doing manual labor like this. There is nothing feminine about American women. American women are literally men. So here is Hannah's response, cut nine, so you can hear her accent.
But apparently I'm trending on Twitter right now because some girl said that my accent should be illegal. Women shouldn't do manual labor. What else did she say? American women are basically men, and she just said that I was not feminine. Ooh. And I would tell y'all this girl's name, but I can't remember it because I don't have a clue who she is. So that should tell you how relevant this person is. But I just think it's hilarious because I grew up as the weird kid in high school who hunted and fished too much because back then it wasn't cool.
So first of all, this young lady seems to me utterly adorable. She seems feminine. She seems a very feminine young lady who happens to like to do this. That's her personality. Not every guy is going to want a girl like that, but so what? Not every. That's the way life works, right? We're individuals. The question with a woman is whether, if your best friend brought her home and said he was going to marry her, would you take him aside and say, no, that's a big mistake? And obviously, with this adorable, sweet-natured person, assuming she is what she seems to be on the video, you'd congratulate him and think it was great and ask her to help you build your house. But the reason all of this caught my attention is because it keeps happening with women, especially, right? Taylor Swift. People go nuts. Taylor Swift is having an affair with the football guy, Jason Kelce. Was it Jason Kelce? Travis Kelce, sorry. Twitter goes nuts, especially conservative Twitter. Sydney Sweeney wears a low-cut dress on SNL. People go crazy every time. It's these women, it's people trying to capture something about femininity and feeling that we are in a fight about what femininity is. Princess Kate, obviously a real representation of something deeply, deeply feminine, a deeply feminine role model, beautiful, poised, graceful, charitable, motherly. This is her image. And I think people are worried. The reason they're getting so crazy about it is not just because she's so popular, but also they're worried that they're afraid she's going to turn out like Princess Di did, that all of that is just an illusion and she's not really the person that we kind of hope she is. I mean, she's just a very, very appealing because she is such an icon of femininity. Feminism, right, which is socialism. Feminism is socialism, just like, identity politics is socialism and transgender politics is socialism. It's all just people being manipulated by those who want to accrue power and accumulate more power for the government. That's all it is. Feminism has tried to beat out of us this femininity and this love of femininity. Conservatives are always saying there's a war against men. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It is not a war against men. They're attacking men because they want to feminize men so that women can become like men, because socialism needs to get women out of the house, because femininity, as opposed to feminism, femininity is a spiritual aspect of a person. It is not something that just comes because of your body. It is something that is transmitted through something beyond your body, that your body simply represents. That is why the transgender people can make the argument that you can become a woman simply by being a feminine man, but you can't. You can only become an effeminate man. But look at what they're trying to do to men. If you watch the Oscars, which I only could tune in for moments at a time, the big thing that the New York Times every day has an article about how great divorce is. If it's not every day, it's every other day. Oh, I got divorced. I'm so happy now. It's so much more fun raising my kids without my husband. It's much better being divorced, much better being... This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy the family, and the family depends on the feminine. It depends on women being the homemaker and the person who brings people into the world, but also brings humanity out of the people they bring into the world. So on the Oscars, they had Ken, the song I'm Just Ken by Ryan Gosling. And this is cut 14. And just look at a little bit of a clip. You can hear him singing it if you're not watching it. Well, go ahead and play it and then I'll describe it.
I'm just Ken, anywhere else I'd be a 10. Is it my destiny to live and die a life of blind fragility? I'm just Ken, where I see love, she sees a friend. What will it take for her to see the man behind the tan and fight for me?
So he's dressed in pink. They're slapping each other. The guys, the dancers that he's with, have these kind of, I don't know what they're called, these kind of striped sashes, red sashes. Now, here is a famous number from an old Marilyn Monroe film called Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. We'll just play a little bit of that.
No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
So it's the same number, essentially, same guys with the striped, the striped sash across their shirt, slapping people and all this. So the ultimate woman, who was Marilyn Monroe, right? There is no greater icon of that sort of womanliness, that aspect of womanliness, is now being played by Ryan Gosling. The New York Times went nuts over this musical number. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful thing it is that a guy is now playing essentially the role of Marilyn Monroe, that the ultimate woman is now being played by a guy. Then there was this strong man, John Cena, who's a big muscle builder, was in a routine where Jimmy Kimmel, famous blackface actor, guy who does wonderful, wonderful imitations of black people. I just showed up Oprah. He did Oprah. He's done great blackface. You have to say about Kimmel, one thing he really does well is blackface. So that's why he's hosting the Oscars, because the one thing the left loves is blackface. They just think it's great, unless a right-wing person does it, and then it's a sin. But Jimmy Kimmel gets away with it. And so there was an old show in which David Niven, the great British actor, was giving an award, and a guy streaked him when streaking was a thing. So he ran by naked, and Jimmy Kimmel says, well, what would happen if that happened today? And then John Cena is supposed to come out, but he doesn't. And here's a little bit of that.
What's going on? You're supposed to run across the stage.
I changed my mind. I don't want to do the streaker bit anymore.
What do you mean you don't want to do the streaker bit anymore? We're doing it.
I just don't feel right about it, man. It's an elegant event. You know, honestly, you should feel shame right now for suggesting such a tasteless idea.
So the strong man, and he ultimately does come out that he covers himself with an envelope. The strong man has to be humiliated, ridiculed. The New York Times now runs a story. Why should a man's nudity be funny when a woman's isn't? Why should there be a difference between the way we look at a man's body and the way we look at a woman's body? And this is the whole idea, is to erase. There should not be any difference. Why? Because if there's difference, we're unequal. If we're unequal, it's not fair. Socialism is going to make everything fair. They're going to force everything into fairness. And as I've said before, the only place where things are fair is in the graveyard. There, everybody is equal when you're dead. All right. So male strength is mockable. Femininity can now be imitated by a guy. A guy can be Marilyn Monroe. But let me show you what's unfeminine. This is Dylan Mulvaney, who has released a song called Girlhood. And I think that was, he meant it girlhood as opposed to womanhood, because throughout he behaves, as he always does, he behaves like a little girl. There's a certain kind of pedophilia involved in his particular form of homosexuality, because that's all he is. He's a gay guy in a dress. So let's watch a little bit of that.
Monday, can't get out of bed. Tuesday morning, pick up meds. Wednesday, retail therapy. Cash or credit, I say yes. Thursday, had a down in the bath.
So just to give you that list, because in case you couldn't hear it, he's going through the days of the week. First day, he can't get out of bed. This is what he thinks girlhood is. This is his idea of girlhood. The next day, he is popping pills. The next day is retail therapy, which is buying things to make yourself feel better. Then he's doing a walk of shame, doesn't even know his name. He's spending too much money. He is flirting with people for drinks. And he then has a breakdown in the bath. So what it reminded me of is Sex and the City. If you've ever seen Sex and the City, the minute you realize that Sex and the City is being acted by women, but it actually is being written by gay men, the entire show makes sense. All the conversations about sex are not conversations between women, they're conversations between gay men. I remember one episode, and I've only seen the show like 3 times just to test it out because it was so popular. There was one episode where the girls were all sitting around talking about sodomy, and I thought, that's not, those aren't girls. And this is before I found out that the show was being written about gay men. It's not the way girls talk about sodomy. So what you have is you have gay men imitating femininity. But again, you cannot be feminine as a man. You can only be effeminate in the same way you can't be manly as a woman. You can only be man-ish. So there's a reason that nearly 30% of Gen Z women now identify as LGBTQ. This is a Gallup survey. Women ages 18 to 26 were more than twice as likely to identify as millennial women were, according to this poll. Now, that is actually not a problem of growing homosexuality. That is a problem of having lost the meaning of who you are. I don't know, obviously nobody knows, whether the soul itself is gendered. I don't know. I sort of suspect that no, the soul is more complex than gender. God, after all, contains both genders because he made both men and women in his image. So we don't really know about that, but we do know that we only know ourselves as embodied persons. We only know ourselves until the end as embodied persons. And as embodied persons, we are gendered. Now, there are a lot of different things you can be as a man or a woman. As I said, this lady, Hannah, is a perfectly sweet, feminine woman, but she enjoys doing things that are usually associated with men. That's not the problem. The problem is when a man becomes a fluttery Dylan Mulvaney coward or a woman becomes a hyper-aggressive boss girl. That's when we start to think something's wrong. Something is wrong. And it's hard. These things are very hard to put into words. But the important thing is the human heart deeply, deeply desires femininity in the world. Femininity and masculinity are not random things. They are part of everything. They are part of the actual fabric of conscious life, and all of human life. All of life is shot through with consciousness because God has both genders within him. The quality of what femininity is hard to describe, but it's at the very core of what makes us human. It really is. Feminists feel it as a burden, but wise men receive it as a gift, and wise women take it as a gift and a responsibility. And they find it within themselves, and that's what makes them live happy lives. That's what means you can be a woman who exists outside of the male power structure, and yet is beyond and also somehow above the male power structure. For more great stuff, like and subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.